This segment is about sensory integration. It's something I knew absolutely zero about when I was starting to work in this area with my child, with other people's children. And I'm still absolutely no expert on sensory integration whatsoever, but it's a really key element, and I want to set it in context. You will have all received, or you can receive if you haven't yet, a physical copy or an electronic copy of your MaxiMind experience. It's a very out of date. I'm not showing you June 2019, but it's still current in many ways. On page 24 is a diagram of the elements of the MaxiMind learning methodology. The three primary techniques: sensory integration exercise, engineered listening, the ILS, and neurofeedback cognitive skill games, that's to play attention. Then there's active coaching. We've spoken a little bit about that, and there's always more to learn about being a great coach. And then there's parenting tools. All five of these areas parents know are necessary to get those great results. Dear coach, between me and you, if the parents do nothing, you'll still get results. We can't say to the parents, well, look what you've not done at home, and therefore, I could say it if I wanted to, but the facts on the ground are that even with mediocre or not very good parenting, our program will work to transform a child because it's working organically. The child's improvements might even be despite their unwillingness. We often say, well, you get out of it as much as you put in. That's very true. But even if a child is unwilling, the fact that they participate in this program, and we've seen it many times, children that are resistant, but simply by showing up and doing parts of what they're supposed to do, and gradually more and more, you're getting breakthroughs. They're moving from level to level. It's remarkable, but it's true. What's the most important piece of this puzzle? I do not know, but I will tell you this. 10 years ago, when I decided to mortgage my house, hire teachers, and buy stuff, and give away MaxiMind in 3 private schools for 40 children, within the school day, on the school premises, I had decided to do so without play attention and without the music component. I, practically speaking, did use the music component. It came to me in the 11th hour, literally a few weeks, maybe, a few weeks before we started. I hastily trained everybody on this music and bought up all this technology for all these, I don't remember how many teachers we had working. It was like a phenomenal number. I think 2, 4, 6, I think we had 8 teachers working in these 3 different schools or something like that. But the only thing that I needed, with all that I knew about these other techniques, and I'd been looking at countless techniques over the years before I launched MaxiMind, all I needed was a learning breakthrough program kit, or what used to be called balometrics, the science developed by Frank Belgau, a physiologist teacher, and I believe he started developing possibly in the 50s with his own learning, 60s, but by the 70s he was rolling and starting to make an impact on America. And he created a whole new field of movement for mental performance. And he was treating dyslexia, also focusing on other learning things. He was improving IQ scores, kids were having fun, and marks were going up. And he was hand making these things with his wife, little cottage industry. And he would get into his RV and go around the southern and western United States, training different school boards how to get their kids to be reading and thinking and succeeding while having a good time on balance boards, hitting pendulum balls and tossing bean bags and balls against ball toss. Remarkably, with my own children and other people's children, what I felt were the real results, the most tangible results, the quickest results, were from these exercises. Sensory integration exercise. And I think part of the reason why it happens, I think before I go into why it happens, I have to close a bracket. The music therapy was introduced to me shortly before I started. So the pilot program in the 3 schools, which you can find on our results page, a link to that pilot program, and the scientific results that we got from the case study, from the measures that we did pre and post and so on. It was definitely a tremendous enhancement. I cannot say the results were only due to sensory integration exercise. I can just say that I was confident that without the music, I would have gotten great results. I got greater results because the music was added. So I'm going to start with sensory integration. On page 22 of your booklet, you see this little triangular structure, and it talks about the foundations of learning in the central nervous system. And way up the top are things like, social and communication and academic learning, but that's all built on things that are going on inside you, brain development things. And you've got perceptual motor, sensory systems. Those things need to be in place. In a word, brain, body connection. So these higher functions that we spoke about, all of them are enhanced by working from the bottom up. Many people have said, show me a child who cannot tie his shoes, back in the days when there were shoelaces, cannot tie a bow, and I'll show you a child who cannot read. There's something about crossing the midline and coordinating these bilateral movements that's really, really important in linking the hemispheres where the sight of a letter or word is residing over here, if you manage to store it, and its sound is over here. You need to put it together. So integrating sight and sound is important. Integrating balance and proprioception is important. All of your physical senses, and you have 3 of them basically, your basic physical senses are touch, balance, and proprioception. So with these exercises, we're utilizing all of them. Proprioception is that deep tissue feeling, your joints and your muscles, why these kids with focusing problems want to hug like this, not a caress like that. They need to feel where their body is in space, and they have a poor brain plan of their body parts. So these types of exercises, and all of them, tossing a ball from here or there, they're building that body plan in the brain. And that's an organizational level that is prior to higher learning or enhances higher function learning. So we're working with the brain by getting at the body, and those higher skills are just emerging. So the first thing you need to do is to build rapport with the child once you're ready. But once you've managed to build rapport, and you're always enhancing that rapport because they're going to perform for you as a coach, as a person. You're going to look forward to coming to see you. But you are building that relationship not only because they're cute and you love them, or they're annoying and you love them, or maybe you're going to love them tomorrow, I don't know. But you're building that relationship so you can pour in the neuroplasticity, and that neuroplasticity is built on the ability of doing hundreds of exercises one at a time, one rep at a time. And each exercise has quality, quantity, and variation. The quality of the exercise is the ability to do it exactly as published. This is a system, and you need to be strict with yourself to learn the exercises properly. Quantity, because repetitions build those connections. To do an exercise once or twice and change it up and do a different exercise, it's like trying to paddle a canoe by lily dipping. You can't just drop your paddle in, and just because your boat is moving means, and therefore your paddle is moving, means you're moving the boat. You're not. You need to push, push, push. And the more they do their repetitions and the more precisely they do them, the more you're building up that connectivity. As you progress from exercise to exercise within sets, you are building up more connections. You're building up connections more wisely. The sets have been devised wisely, just like the individual exercises have. So you want to push a kid through as precise as possible, as much as possible. Some kids can get through a full ILS with all the reps, a full LBP with all the reps, and do it in 15 minutes. Can do it in 12 minutes. I don't know if anybody has done it in 10 or less. The coaches that know more than I do would. On average, a kid will take 25 minutes. You can spend 25 minutes doing all this sensory integration exercise, about 10 minutes maybe on the ILS, 15 on the LBP, or maybe it's going to be less, more. But 25 minutes is a reasonable budget for the average child. A great kid who can, and with a great relationship with you, who's got those basic skills, can do it all. Quantity, quality, sensory integration exercise, 2 modalities, ILS, LBP, fantastic. All you need to make a life change. Amazing. Spend the first half of the program, if you want, doing weeks 1 to 6 or whatever he calls it, and weeks 7 to 12, as he calls it in the booklet, the second half of the program. Or if you want to do a different proportion, there are other logics that we could support. But that's really it. But there's a third element, and that's variation. What about the child who can't get the exercise right even once? This is an important, learnable, teachable moment, a learning opportunity for this child. Physical learning, body learning, motion learning, muscle memory training. You need to chunk it down. So if this is a bean bag and I need to do drop and catch, and the child can't do it, because what the child is busy doing, I really should not drop expensive equipment. What the child is doing is, or not letting go. There's so many ways of failing at drop and catch. So you need to stop, get the child off the balance board, and work with their fingers, work with their hands, show them. You might spend 10 minutes on one drop and catch. But if you can get a breakthrough there, then you'll only have to spend 5 minutes on it the next session and 1 minute on it the third session, and the child will be doing it on the fourth session. And because drop and catch is better, the next exercise will be better as well. You must slow down to speed up. It's like reading. You cannot teach fast reading. You need to teach slow reading in order for someone to read quickly. And it's the same as anything else. You need to get it right, and then you need to get it faster through repetition. It's like music. You play that scale and you do it right, or like doing any physical exercise or doing a curl or whatever your moves are in yoga. It takes you a while to learn how to do the move, but then it starts to flow, and it will flow for the child as well. When the child knows that this took 10 minutes, but the next time it took 5 minutes, and you tell the child, wow, last time it took us 10 minutes, this time you did it in 5 minutes. That's twice as good. You're amazing. They'll smile. If you tell the child, wow, you're so coordinated, they'll say no. You need to express approval in a way that's incontrovertible. They cannot contradict you because they know that you're right because you said something measurable, something specific, something undeniable, which actually happened. You don't have to tell them that they're good or they're smart or they're amazing or brilliant. You need to tell them that they did this better than last time. You need to incentivize it as well. You need to show them. You need a million tricks. I know they told me a million times not to exaggerate, but you need to have a ever-growing bag of tricks and thoughts of how to incentivize this kid so that they will perform for you better, more frequently, faster, higher, greater challenge levels. And just like there are challenge levels at the lower level where you have to drop the challenge level off the chart of what's been taught to you, you have to raise the challenge level. And you'll see that we have some materials developed by coaches for how to create variations and how to create higher challenge levels in the variations on many of the exercises in our exercise sets. Sensory integration is a key. It is something that's been around for decades and decades. It's something that coaching really creates success at. And just like the exercise component is something that is sufficient to get a life change, so too are the other elements that we will speak about in further installments, further segments of this video training that I'm contributing to.